The solar industry has a dark secret that no one is talking about.
Blackouts.
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 Rolling blackouts.
In the United States alone, the solar industry is forecasted to grow almost $100 billion in the next 5 years. You've seen that with the boom of residential solar across the globe. The world is looking for sustainable energy solutions that is moving away from fossil fuels. But moving sustainable, there is a huge problem that people are not talking about. I'm going to be talking to some of the industry experts about what are the best solutions for this massive problem.
And we'll find out if the solar investments are what the world has hyped them up to be, and what you should do if the grid goes black.
Where this journey begins for most is you answer the door and someone in a collared shirt and a flat-brimmed hat asks you if you want to own your power or lower your power bill in some cases. They ask if they can set up an appointment with someone who can help you go over your benefits in going solar. You agree, someone comes into your house and what they should be doing is telling you how solar works. And if they didn't explain it to you, and you're like me, and you've seen solar literally everywhere, and you still don't know how it works, this is for us. So, this is how it works. That beautiful glowing orb in the sky, the sun, produces light rays that contain something called a photon. And the solar cells on the solar panel are made with one of the most abundant elements on the planet, silicon. Crystalline silica, to be exact, is squished between two conductive layers. And when the photon from the sun hits the panel, there's an exchange that causes electrons to move and create an electrical current that flows into your house via an electric net meter, which is a meter that basically counts how much energy you produce versus how much energy you use. I'll post some more in-depth links to some explainer videos in the description box below, so if you want to know a little bit more about how solar works, go check out those videos. You decide, yes, I want solar. You sign some paperwork, go through inspections, permitting, and the next thing that you know, solar panels are being installed on your roof. Ideally, you would hope that your solar system produces enough energy to cover your electricity cost month over month. But for most cases, and for most people, that isn't actually what happens. And to be honest, I don't even think that's the worst part about it. The worst part is that all the solar systems that are attached to the grid, which is literally almost every single one, they solely rely on the power grid to work. So if the power grid goes down, so does your power. So when you need your power grid the most, it vanishes. Just like the Avatar. That brings us to this massive problem that I was talking about in the beginning. What do you think the problem is? Comment below. Let's talk about it. The majority of the modern power grid in the United States was installed in the 60s and the 70s. Even though much of the power grid has been updated, it is still struggling to compete with the energy consumption that we are facing 50 to 60 years later. That being said, we didn't have as many air conditioning inside of houses, let alone all of the appliances that we would typically use, and even electric cars pulling from the grid. Billy, it's a simple solution. Isn't the sun producing 173,000 terawatts continuously? Can't we just harness that? I understand what you're saying, but there is a limit to which the power grid can handle. The U.S. Energy Information Administration stated at the end of 2022, the United States had 1,160,169 megawatts, or about 1.1 billion kilowatts of total utility-scaled electrical generation capacity. And that's a combination of all of the states, all of their individual power grids, power companies, and all of the ways that they produce energy. But there is a delicate balance that every individual power grid needs to hold. So if we take our production and consumption and we put it here on a line, and we take the baseline energy use here and make it this baseline dot, and if that dot heads over here to the right side, meaning we are consuming more energy than we are producing, the power companies will be forced to shut off your power, causing brownouts and blackouts. Now, if we take it the other direction, and if it goes over here to the right, and we are producing more power than we are consuming, the same thing is going to happen. The power company has to protect the integrity of the grid, meaning they will shut off your power and they will either A, sell that power immediately to another state, or B, they will waste that power by shooting it into the ground. And we've seen that over the last couple of years in these scorching hot summers in California with these brownout and blackouts. And honestly, it hasn't happened in the rest of the country yet, but we don't have an energy production problem. We're producing energy just fine. We are having an energy storage problem. And I'm gonna go up and talk to some people about it. Let's go. I'm on my way up to ES Solar. It's a solar company based in Layton, Utah, a little bit north of me. And I was filming with them a few years back, doing some training videos, some events, and I heard this term that I'd never heard before in my life. They called it a virtual power plant. That's the solution that we're looking forward to with solar energy. So I'm going up to talk with Zach Randall, their VP of sales, and that's going to be a full-length podcast, and that is going to be on my podcast, The Inward Mind. So if you want to watch the full podcast interview, I'll link it right here so you can watch the whole thing. But we're going to go up and talk to Zach and talk about virtual power plants, their partnership with a company called Sonnen Batteries. You kind of explain what is a virtual power plant, because most people are like, that just sounds kind of weird. What is a virtual power plant?
Yeah. I don't know who coined the phrase. I think it might have been Rocky Mountain Power, actually. But yeah, it's truly the way to electrify our grid. A utility-controlled, customer-owned battery solar type solution is what a virtual power plant is. And he talked about, in Europe, they're doing these virtual power plants. So in Germany and things, where the utility can actually use the batteries in people's homes to stabilize the grid and to make it so we don't have brownouts, blackouts. Basically, it takes the place of burning coal or burning diesel fuel in a peaker plant. You can do that same thing with a battery that's charged by solar, so it's clean, renewable energy inside of a customer's home.
Now, what makes these virtual power plants so awesome is how they solve this energy storage problem. We all know how batteries work, but now we can see how it works to stabilize the power grid. So when your solar is producing energy, it's going to fill up the battery first before it sends any excess energy to the grid. That solves the problem of too much energy being produced by solar going into the grid. Now, if the power company needs to utilize some of that power to stabilize the grid, so whether it's in peak times when people are using lots of electricity when they get home from work, or if it's heading towards that critical threshold of 60 hertz, the power company within 3 seconds can utilize the hive mind of all of these batteries and draw that energy back in to stabilize the grid. It's almost instantaneous. And that historically, that's not how that works. Historically, we'd have to launch up a peaker plant, which is coal, diesel, something else to be able to stabilize the grid. Now they can do it instantaneously within 3 seconds. That's pretty impressive. Now, a side note for the people who don't want their battery being utilized by the local power company, I get you, I understand 100%, but the programs are not required to be signed up to. If you want to, Rocky Mountain Power here in Utah specifically has a program called the Watt Smart program. And what that program does is they say, hey, we'll give you a little bit of extra money towards your battery if you agree to let us utilize your battery for our power plant. And if you agree, then they will pay for some of your battery. I think it's a win-win for both people, but I don't know every state. I don't know all of the laws and stuff within power companies for different states, so you'll have to look up your individual state to find out what programs they have for purchasing batteries with solar. So go check that out at your local power company, or if you have any questions, go talk to them. But this is the future of solar energy and how everyone should be doing it in the future. The first ever virtual power plant community was built here in Utah, and it's called Solar Lofts. It's a pretty impressive project, 5.3 megawatts of solar capacity across over 12,000 solar panels, 12.8 megawatts of energy storage capacity, including batteries in each one of the 600 apartments, 150 electric vehicle chargers, and 73 solar carport structures.
The apartments are all electric and the solar panels can generate enough power to cover 80% of the development's electrical needs. The Soleil lofts were finished a few years ago and have been running pretty flawlessly. That is where people want solar to go. They want it to go in a direction where they can have energy storage and solar energy. It makes the most sense for solar. ES Solar themselves have installed over 6,000 batteries in the last few years. Bunch of them on the Rocky Mountain Power Watts Hour program, but some of them are not. It's roughly 60 megawatts of battery storage capacity. And I know that's only a really small portion of what Utah probably uses every single day, but it is a move in the right direction. So come on, the sun produces 167,000 terawatts of energy continuously. We gotta be able, especially in the renewable energy space, to know how to store this energy. Lots of people are working on it, especially some of those people out of Finland, those smart people using sand to be able to store some of this energy produced by solar. People like, Billy, why would we use sand? Sand is really, really abundant on this planet. There's massive deserts, many spots across the planet that we could utilize to store energy for solar. And in the end, you're gonna be like, Billy, why is this important? Why do we care about solar and batteries? And I hate to break it to you, that beautiful process that people have been utilizing for the last 10, 15 years called net metering, where you produce energy, it goes into the grid and the power company pays you, that process is gonna be going away here in the United States. A lot of places already don't have it, and a lot of places who have been utilizing it will be getting rid of it here in the future. You need to be able to have a way to be able to control the energy that you store. You need to be able to utilize it when you go to sleep at night. You need to be able to utilize it and store it when you need to store it, and be able to, some people, if they want to support the grid as well. So now what you should do now, if you are thinking about going solar or if you have solar without a battery, number one, always look for solar with a battery. If you don't have it, look into the programs within your state that will help pay a little bit for those batteries, whether it's Sonnen, Tesla, even Anchor has come up with a new battery, whole home battery system that Jerry Rig Everything did a video about, and it was pretty interesting to look and watch it be installed in his friend's house. So go take a look at that video as well. But this is a movement in the right direction for solar. It's the only way that solar will succeed, and I foresee it going in that direction by everybody. So get to it quickly before everybody else does. And if you want to continue to see deep dives, fun infographics, stuff like that into things that we use every single day, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, and we will see you in the next one.